Hello, hello, everybody. Corey here. I like it. And today we have another Sunday Photoshop tutorial. So get your pen and paper and let's get going. Better yet, if you have a laptop and you got Photoshop, open it up and play around with it. Let's have some fun. Okay, okay. Don't give up. Okay, that is the phrase of the day, guys. Don't give up. I mean, last week was my very first live stream, and was it professional? I tried, but it didn't look professional compared to a lot of other people who are doing this kind of stuff. And should I give up? No. It's hard. I've never learned streaming stuff before. I mean, my kids know more about this stuff than I do, but don't give up. Phrase of the day. Don't give up. Because I understand Photoshop. If you guys saw my last show, you go on Photoshop and oh, you made it look so easy and it doesn't work for me and it's too hard. And don't give up. Just don't do it. And we're going to just take baby steps. Okay, guys? We're going to take baby steps. We're going to learn Photoshop for photo booth people. Okay, this is like it's like Photoshop is very, very, very complicated, like I mentioned before in the first program, and you just need to know what you need to know for an overlay. You don't need to know how to touch tone and all this, all this fancy stuff. You just need to know how to make an overlay and how to make a professional one. Okay, I mean, there's some people who know, they go in Canva and they cut out some images and stuff like that, and they put it on an overlay, and uh, they're proud of themselves because they did something really cool. Like they cut out a picture and stuff. And so to them, the overlay looks really good to them because they're proud of themselves, right? But to a designer's point of view, when you see something that, someone put a lot of work into, but it just doesn't look good, it's heartbreaking because I don't want them to stop. I just want them to learn, okay? Just learn. So we're going to touch on Photoshop again today, but instead of creating an overlay, I want to purchase an overlay off random sites here, and I got a couple, and we're going to open them up in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how to take a overlay that may be square, and I'll show you how to take that design and turn it into a one picture or two picture or three picture using the design you have from the Photoshop file. So we're going to identify all those really complicated layers like adjustment layers, and we're going to learn about groups. So if you missed last week's show, it was stellar. It was stellar. I was on top of my game. No, I wasn't. But today's day two. Don't give up, right, guys? Don't give up. I'm a fighter. Okay, so last week, if you missed the show, catch it. It's still available in my library here on the I Like It channel. We covered a lot of stuff. So, we talked about different files. They can be very complicated, and some people don't know what they mean. So we kind of talked about what is a file and what does that extension mean. We talked about the very, very important images we need to know is the JPEG and the PNG. We explained how a PNG is for the overlay because it has transparency. And transparency is important because as you see on this logo, PNG, you can see through, there's no white box like on this side, right? And then we took an overlay with a white background and we made it disappear, taking the background out of a logo. If you want to know all that stuff, we covered it last show. Go give it a watch and make sure, guys, you subscribe to my channel. It's so important. I really need this. So subscribe to my channel if you like what I'm doing, okay? Okay. Now, if you wonder why I'm like looking over here and there, so like I have a screen here, and a screen here, and a screen here. So you might catch me just wandering around and I noticed that when I watched the first tutorial. I'm like, why don't I look at the camera more? But it's hard. I got so many screens. Anywho, landscape or portrait uh, for the photos to go inside the frame. And that's a really good question too, because it really depends on what you're using, right? If you're using one of those, old school photo booths that enclosed photo booth, and like a 2x6 print is even like more, associated with something like that. Something like a mirror booth, um, there's no wrong or right answer, but for a mirror booth, doesn't it make sense to be portrait? You step in front of a mirror, and the mirror is portrait, and it's like you see what you get. But when you get your print and the photos are landscape, it kind of takes away from what they see in the mirror, right? So, like landscape photos are great, but there's a lot of dead space on the sides, and if you're 3 foot tall, good luck, right? So yeah, and the thing is, some people use a landscape because they think that you can get more people in the picture, and that's not true at all, guys. I mean, portrait photos are really nice. You can fit a lot of people in them, and you use up all that space. Look at that, high and low. I mean, like I said, there's no wrong or right answer, but if you have a mirror booth, I think you should use portrait. But uh, iPad booths and stuff like that, there's such a variety because of the shape of the iPad. You can use squares or whatnot. All right, the next question here. Do I put my logo on the overlay? Okay. So think of it this way, guys. It's like people are at an event, they get a print or even digital on a phone or email, and your email or your web address or your phone number is on it. I mean, that is just like a business card. It's a business card. Your overlay is a business card. Some people say, no way. I mean, it looks ugly and everything, but I mean, this is business. You want people to know how to get a hold of you. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, really. And like, I'm going to look at like this overlay right here. You can see it's just the web page there. It's not complicated, It's not complicated. And if you look back at that one photo, he had his logo on the overlay, but the logo does not tell you how, or doesn't tell anybody how to get a hold of you. A logo doesn't have your phone number or web address. It's a picture of your company. It's a logo. So I say no logo, because it doesn't tell anybody the important thing, and that is, how do they get a hold of you? So for the question, do I put my logo on the overlay? No, but you better put something on it. Your website, something. There is an exception though, because sometimes the event is about you. Right here, we're going to look at an example of an overlay that is about you. Because when I mean about you, I mean an expo or a fundraiser where, your name can be all over the place. I mean, having an overlay with your logo on it and all that stuff is great for expos. It really is. Super awesome. But really, I mean, don't put it on someone's wedding overlay. But you have to put something on there. You have to. It's business. It's a business card, and it's a free chance to advertise, in a sense. People are at the wedding, and they're having so much fun, and they're posting the pictures on Facebook and stuff, and boom, 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 everywhere is your logo or your website or your phone number. So yes, put some info on that overlay, guys. Do it. Okay. Anyways, just to review, I opened up a zip file by right-clicking on it and extracting all, which gives me this box. Then I open up the Photoshop file in Photoshop. Okay, I apologize for that. Okay, so I mean, when you're going live, anything can happen, folks. Anything can happen. Just gotta roll with the punches. Okay, so now we have an overlay we purchased, and this is what I see when I open it. So again, we learned about the panel that has your layers in it, the layer panel. This is where all your layers. If you missed last week's show, you know, the things here are on top and the things down here are on the bottom. And just review that video if you need to. So this designer has labeled his layers. This one will start from the top here. Hide this layer fonts. Okay, so if I turn it on and off, I can see what the layer is right there. So that's what that layer is. And that is just telling me where to find the fonts if I want to find the fonts. Okay, but you don't need that. We can use our own fonts. Okay, so it says hide this layer, so I'm going to hide that layer. And then we have a next one here, number 2. It says hide this. I'm going to turn it on and off so I can see what it is. So that is the terms thing. Hide that layer. I'm going to hide it. And there's still this other thing here. So, oh, this one's a box that has text on it. And it's pretty much telling you the location and the size of that picture. You know, some software you can like program, it places it in there and all that. So this is kind of giving you those dimensions and stuff. Hide that layer. Okay, turn that off. Okay, what are we left with? Because we don't need all that we just turned off, we're going to delete them, get rid of them, and just make our layer panel a little bit less cluttered. Now we have this left. Next one is text. The T here represents text, so these are your text right here. And this one has that little warning sign there, which tells me that I don't have that font. So we're just going to change it to a font that I do have. Just anything for now, because we'll figure out the font of everything later. So we'll just pick that. Okay. Now you can see that warning sign thing's gone. And then we have something called photo frames in this. So we're going to turn that on and off, see what it is. So that is that gold thing right in here. Okay. So when you're watching me on Photoshop, you're going to see I'm going in and out a lot. And that's your wheel on your mouse to go in and out. And then the space bar, if you hold it down, and I turn it into a hand, and I can go and move that baby around like that. So you're going to constantly see me doing this and this and this and that. Okay, so anyways, back to this. We discovered that that's what that is. Okay, the next layer, I'm not really sure what it is yet. Okay, but we haven't learned this yet. And this thing is the background. Okay, so now we know what all the layers are. So I'm going to open up another panel here. And remember last week we discovered, you know, you can have 2 different projects on the go at the same time, as many as you want actually. So I'm going to take things from here and put it over here. So I'm going to highlight that and hold down my shift or control key and click on that. And I highlight them both. Okay. And I'm just going to click and drag it over to the new board. And like that. When they're both highlighted, you know, I can transform them together as a group. Why did I do that? I want to show you something that you're going to need to know. And that is groups. So I have text here. I want to change that to the date, let's say, because I don't want to say that. You can change whatever you want, right? Okay, we have a date. And again, the name and everything, you can just keep it like that for now. Okay, I want to highlight them both again. And just make sure everything's center. There it is. Okay, great. Now, when you start to work with layers over here, okay, it can kind of get cluttered up. So you can group things, okay? So how you do that, you just highlight them both right click on it and you can group it, okay? Or this is Control G, okay? Control G. Control G, I grouped it. Now I have a folder up here. When I open the folder and up and down, you can see that in that folder is the 2 pieces of text. Okay, so now I have a group. And remember, last time I told you if you double click on the layer, you can add bevels and drop shadows, glows, all that stuff. Okay, and you can apply it to the group. But also, if you double click on the name, you can name it. So we're going to name this text. Okay, so I brought text from here and put it in there just to show you how to group, okay? Because that's important for the next overlay because it's messy. Okay. So anyways, I can delete that now, but I'm going to bring in that text from over here because I like that. Highlight that and just see both of them. Okay, and let's bring it in. Again, you Control C is copy and Control V is paste. You can do it that way too. Okay, we're going to put that name right here. Okay, so now we kind of learned how to like change the text on an overlay that you buy. Now let's say you want to change the color. Okay, so this designer who designed this piece put a layer here called an adjustment layer. Okay, an adjustment layer is a layer that adjusts the layer beneath it, or layers, you know. So in this case here, you can see there's a little arrow here. Okay, and that's pointing down to this. So that means if I click on that, whatever I adjust this to, that background will become that color. Because that adjustment layer is a color adjustment layer. It allows you to change the color. Okay. But they kind of do this to make it easier for you because it's like, you know, easy adjustment. Just double click on this and you can change it to whatever you want. But let's say I delete that. Now it's white. And remember that. Double click here and we bring up our styles here. I can change the color of the overlay here. So in a way, when a designer makes something and puts adjustment layers on top of things, it makes it more confusing for people who don't know this stuff, right? I mean, adjustment layers are put there to make things easy. You just click on the adjustment layer and adjust it. But for me, it confuses me. And it confuses a lot of people. They see adjustment layers all over the place and they don't know what to do. So I deleted it, and then we can just change the background to wherever we want doing that. Right? Change it to blue. Everything that adjustment layer over top of that layer was doing, I can do this way. And that's the magic of Photoshop, so many different ways. Now we have an issue though, because this designer also placed, what he did is he made a rectangle and then he cut out the part where the photo's going. Okay. Why is that bad? Well, because I can't do nothing with that square now, right? I mean, I can't. And what I mean is, let's demonstrate. I'm going to go over here to my side tool and select the rectangle tool and just make a shape. And I'm going to put that on the bottom. Okay, great. Now I'm going to delete this thing. I'm going to delete it, or just turn it off if you want. I'm going to delete it because I don't like it. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to go to the rectangle tool again and make one same size as this artboard, this canvas. And I'm going to change the color to, I don't know, green. Okay. Now when I click on that corner, remember, you can now transform. So now I can make it smaller or bigger. Just make it that big. Okay. Now I'm going to double click on this layer, which is the green layer. Take out the fill capacity and make it deep right here in the advanced blending. And now I have a layer that is transparent. Now I can make that picture bigger or smaller, put it wherever I want. Okay, great. I'm just going to put this down here so the text is on top. There it is. Okay, now we can actually click on that layer now, that transparency, and transform it. We're just going to maybe lift it up like this. Okay. Now we can like put it wherever we want. I kind of want it center here, right? So we'll make sure it's center. Yep. Okay, now we bought an overlay from a store and we made some edits. Fantastic. Let's say you wanted this design, but you wanted the pictures to be to go on here, for example. Okay. So I'm just gonna delete everything here just for now. Okay. So let's make an overlay for a mirror booth. So I'm gonna click and drag that back. See, oh yeah, I want to show you that. If you click and drag, you can get a selection box and you can select multiple things like this too, okay? So let's just select all this stuff. And let's just bring it into here. All right. Now first I'm going to work with this layer, which is the background. I'm just going to stretch it to the sides. Make it fit that canvas, which is now not a square one, is now a 4x6. Okay. And then this layer is our picture thing. I'm just going to go and drag it to the corner so I can make it exactly the same size as this. So I do that so I get that 2:3 ratio. So then when I move it, it doesn't lose that ratio, which is what you want to do when you think make these things here. This layer, I'm going to turn it this way maybe. Maybe I'll just stretch it out a bit like that. Like I said, just play around. You know, sometimes when you do this, it kind of distorts everything and it makes it all look twisted and all that. You don't want to do that. There's other ways, but in this case, I think it still works. Great. Now let's say we want to do a mirror, so I'm going to turn it this way. Done. I'm going to come over here and duplicate it by holding down my Alt key. When you do your Alt key, your arrow changes to a double. That means you can duplicate. I'll put one here. I'll hold down Alt, bring another one over, boom. Now I'm going to highlight Alt, and I'll hold down my Shift key, and I can pick all these layers. You can see here I selected 3 layers, so I can move them together as a group now. And just put it out like that. There we go. And see, when you move, so you can see it locks right there. That's telling you it's center. Photoshop's so smart. Boom. I'm going to go back over to this one again. And let's grab that text now. Remember, I just highlight text because it's a folder. Control C. Let's come back over here. Control V. There it is. I'll click on that corner. Now I can transform it. Move it. Boom. So what did we do? We made a square overlay into a mirror booth one. You know, sometimes an overlay that you buy can be hell. You look at it and you're like, whoa. But just dissect it and understand what's there, and it's not that hard. And I'm going to show you how to do a really complicated one now. So let's just go back to our screen here. And I'm just going to minimize that here and close that. So I have another one. Again, it's a zip file. Zip file, right click on it, extract all. This dialog box will pop up, say extract. And once it's extracted, it'll open up that folder here. And there it is. Double click on it. I got a couple things in here. This is a Mac, you know, if you're editing in a Mac, or this one's PC. He's got like the overlay by itself. So you can add text in here without having to even go into Photoshop. And then the Photoshop file. So we're going to open that up. Right, guys? I mean, look at that layer panel. It is confusing. What does it all mean? And then when you open a folder by dropping this thing down, you can see what's inside it. And like this, whoa, look at all those files inside that folder. Okay. Now, for someone who doesn't know Photoshop very well, just learning that kind of stuff, that will make them turn the computer off when they see something like that. Like that is, oh, that is beyond what I can do, but it's not. It's not. It's very simple, and I'm going to explain you how and what everything is here. Okay, guys. I mean, on the layer panel, you see things. Okay, so in this case, they used the blue. They color coded it, so blue, 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 blue. So in this case, the blue is the adjustment layers. Okay, and then the blue is pointing down at something. So it's an adjustment layer for the layer below it. Okay. And in some cases, there's multiple layers that it's affecting. So that's where, you know, a lot of people get lost. Is like, what does this mean? I don't even know, right? So for example, like this first one here, where are we here? This first one here is an adjustment layer for that text. Oh, no, this doesn't have an arrow pointing down on it. So this is affecting the entire thing. So in this case, I double click on that. And when I do that, I see this properties here, you know, and this is where you can change the colors of the entire overlay at once. Let's say it's purple. Just by changing the hue, I can change the color. And then the brightness with this saturation and the lightness and darkness all can be controlled from this right here. Okay, it controls the whole master. We're going to turn it off. And you know what? We're going to delete it. We don't want it. See, if I turn off all the adjustment layers, it doesn't affect anything because you haven't adjusted anything. So in a sense, you can delete all the adjustment layers if you want. You can. And then you can, you know, change colors and stuff the way I showed you with the layer styles, right? But for now, we'll keep them there. We're going to just carry on with what we're seeing. Now we're going to talk about something you need to know, and that is this part here when you see this arrow pointing down with no adjustment layer. Okay, that is called a clip mask. Okay, that's clip mask is super, super awesome, and it's super easy. So I'm going to open up a brand new file here, 6x4. And to demonstrate how to make a clipping mask, I'm going to show you. Corey. That's me. That's me. Okay, there we go. Corey, I have a layer right here called Corey. It's a text file. Okay, I want to make that something more bolder because to prove my point, I just want something bold. There we go. Okay, so really, I mean, what a clipping mask is it's a mask that goes on top of another layer, but the layer on the bottom keeps its form. It's masked by something. And really the easiest way to explain this is show you. Okay, and it's pretty easy. Once you see this, I think you'll understand better and whatnot. So I'm just going to go into my library here, and I'm going to pull in a texture. So I'm going to click and drag it in here. Awesome. Now I have another layer in here. See, you can see that right there. So I got Corey, and I got this gold thing. The gold on the layer styles is on top, so that means it's on top. If I put Corey on top, Corey's on top. I'm going to put that on top, that on top. Now to create a layer mask, I'm going to right click on it and say create clip, a clipping mask. So I'm going to click clipping mask, boom. And there we go. We just masked Corey with that layer. And that layer has this arrow pointing down saying it's masking that layer. If I turn it on and off, you can see the gold goes away and up. Okay, so now I have, when I highlight, I can see it right here. I can, there it is. That shape, it's masking Corey. If I take Corey and size it, I can go in and out of the mask. Okay. Make it bigger. So, how cool is that? When I first discovered clipping masks, I did it on everything. Look at that. How cool is that? And that's a clipping mask. I'm going to release it. Right click, release clipping mask. Now it's back. Right click, create. Boom. Okay. Now, if I go and I type in is the best. Perfect. Corey is the best. All right. Now, when I click on that, it's not going over top of that text because it's only clipped to Corey. Okay. If I move it down here, it's still not. It's just connected to Corey. Okay, so if I release that clipping mask, move it out of the way, and I take Corey is the best and hit this folder down here, that's group. It's grouped now. So now I can apply this layer mask over top of the group. Create clipping mask. Boom. Now the best has the entire mask over it because I grouped the text and added that. Clipping mask. So now when we go back to this super complex overlay, you can see that that's clipped onto that, clipped onto that. So if I take out this, I take out that, you can see what the layer mask is. It's those leaves in there. Okay. And then this one is that label thing. And this layer is, we turn that off. This layer is text frame background. So we turn it on and off and see what it is. Okay, that's what that is. And that's a folder. So inside the folder is that and that. Here's another thing. What is that? That's that thing. Okay, okay. See, I'm just identifying what all the layers are. This is frame. Okay, that's the frame that goes on there. Okay. This is that branch. That's that branch. Okay. So now you know what everything is. But remember, we had that one layer, or a couple layers actually, that have like all these things in it, right? That's because if you zoom in, the designer has actually like put together this design using little separate leaves. So each of these things are its own layer. And what he did is he put them all in there, made a design, and they grouped them all together in a folder. Remember, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. See, look at all that stuff going back to where it was. Okay. Control Z is undo. And let's say you don't want some of those leaves. You can go in there and hit delete, delete. Okay. So now, how can we make this work for us? again, for some strange reason, I don't know why some people do this, but they put a background. I'm gonna put it all the way to the, that has the picture cut out already. I don't know why people do that. Okay, so it's white, so we can delete it, turn it off, and we'll put a white background ourselves with a box. There it is. Right at the top here, we have a box, and I'm going to push that all the way to the bottom. And then I can delete that thing there, and we'll make that box white. So now we have a background like we did before, but now we don't have no place for the picture to go because we didn't cut out the background. We're going to make our own, because you have more control this way. You're able to make it bigger and smaller. So again, I'm going to make it the same size as the overlay. I'm going to size it down to whatever I want, but like keep that 2:3 ratio. Don't be going like this. Keep that shape. Put it whatever for now, and then double click on it here and knock it out. Now we have something we can work with. It's not cut out of the background. If you're a designer and you're doing that, stop doing that. Stop it. Okay, there we go. Awesome, awesome. Obviously, we want to put that shape back here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to use this design and make a 2-picture, 3-picture overlay for the mirror booth. Again, make a new project here. The width will be 6 by 4. And then you also can check by pixels by just changing this, and you can see it's 18 by 12. That's great. Okay, there it is. You always notice that I have this white layer here because something has to be in there. Okay, something has to be there. Once I put, like, I can't delete it. Like, I can hide it, but I can't delete it because something needs to be there. So once I bring something in there, then I can delete it. So let's start making an overlay with a purchase. And I get this all the time. People buy stuff from me in my store and they send me an email saying, I love this, but can you make it a 3-picture overlay? Well, you have the files. You can really, it's really easy to do. So first I'm going to start with this bottom layer, which is the white. Bring it in and just turn it. There's my background. Now I'm going to bring in, let's bring in that. Let's bring it this way. There it is. Okay, now we have that shape, which was, the frame, right? And we'll bring in this thing too. See how I'm just kind of like clicking and dragging things in here. And when I'm sizing things down, I'm not stretching things out. I'm just keeping that shape. Now I have a frame and a picture. I want to make sure that that thing's on top. Okay. And sometimes where you can see the picture through the frame because it's out like this, right? So sometimes it's not, you have to really zoom in sometimes to make sure you get that right in there. See, like that is like borderline there. So we'll just kind of lift that up. Let's go all the way just to make sure that's all inside that frame. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now I have a 1 picture. And now once you do that, you select that layer and that layer, which is the frame. Hold down the Alt key to copy it. And now I have 2. And now I have 3. Highlight all these layers. And then click on the corner. I can move them all together. Yeah. Looking good. Now I have turned this overlay into a 3-picture overlay. Missing some stuff though. Yes, I am. Since I have that stuff over there already, I'm just going to delete everything here and just work with what I have left. So here we go, leaves. All these different leaves. I don't want to have control over each one. I like how it looks overall. I do. So I'm going to highlight it all like this. Come over and right click on it and say merge layers. Now, this is all just one shape instead of 20 different leaves. Okay. Much easier to work with. I'm going to click and drag that over. Drop down. Now I have it over here. I can put that there. Hold on my Alt key to copy it. Bring it over here. Edit and flip it. There we go. We got something started. Now what do we have? Now we have this thing here. This label. I call this like a label. Control C, copy. Control V, paste. There it is. Let's put it right there. See, I took an overlay for one picture and you can make it into whatever you want. You buy it, you own it, use it again. Highlight that. Okay, which is the text over here. So I highlight text, Control C, Control V. There's the text. Oops. Okay. See, when I try to transform this, it's going to give me this error. That's because I have fonts here that aren't identified yet. Like I don't have these fonts. So really the best way to get rid of that text is just quickly change the fonts to, I was going to highlight them all so I can change them all at once. Just so we stop getting that error. Hope that makes sense to you. There. Now, good. So when I highlight that layer, I can move them together like that. Okay, so what else are we missing here? So now I got that. I can delete that now. Now what's left? These leaves. Highlight them all and then right click on it and say merge. Now I got another group of leaves. And bring it in here. I believe that was like that or something like that. Maybe I'll duplicate that. Edit, transform, flip. And put it on this side. Okay. And this weird rectangle, I don't know why that was, I don't know, I can't explain that. But we're going to bring it in. And let's put it right there. Let's say we need to make it a little bit smaller or something. And let's say you don't like it. Like you like some elements of the design, but you don't like that, just delete it. It's up to you. So let's delete that from there. So what are we left with? Okay. Merge layers, there we go. Bring it in here. And I think this was like behind that thing, so it was, let's put it back here. Maybe it's just behind that thing or something. Turn it around. I mean, it's all up to you what you can do with it. Duplicate that, and we'll put some more leaves over here, maybe, and over there. Okay. So there we go. We kind of like made something other than this one overlay. You have all the power to kind of do whatever you want. You can make this into a square overlay, or I think it's funny sometimes because like I design an overlay for somebody and they say, can you make do you make one for 360 booth too? And I think that's kind of funny because it's like some people don't understand, one overlay is just like another overlay. It doesn't really matter what booth it's for, because it's a PNG is a PNG. You just need to know how big you need to make it, and portrait or landscape, that kind of basic stuff. But if you can make an overlay for one booth, you make them for all. Everything can be adjusted, and you can do it without adjustment layers. But believe it or not, adjustment layers are put on there to help you. And they will help you if you know what they are, right? But I prefer not to use them because I'm just simple. I just like simple. Okay. There we go. We just did it. Fantastic. Now, when you add adjustments to your fonts, you really got to be careful, okay? But maybe you want this to like lift a bit, have more dimension to it, not be so flat. And since we have this nice texture on here now, maybe it'd be appropriate. So again, if I click on the text layer, I can hit maybe bevel, okay? Here you can kind of see what you're doing here. You can adjust a bit. We'll zoom in a bit more. And maybe I want to do like a little drop shadow. Now, hit reset, default first. Default is like what Photoshop thinks you should do. And Photoshop is usually right. I mean, they don't just make up numbers for no reason. There's studies and this stuff. And you can see if I make it darker and lighter, you can see where that drop shadow is now. Okay. I like a little bit more angle. And maybe a little less. Just a little bit. And when it comes to stuff like this, a little bit goes a long way. Look, you kind of got a little bit more depth now. Now, if I overdo it, let's say I go here like that, and it'll make it really dark. And what people do is like, when they have a white, like a light colored text on top of a white background, it doesn't stand, they think putting a drop shadow on is a solution to making it stand out more, when it's not. It makes it harder to read, actually. Like this is kind of like an exaggeration, but when you look at going backwards and having just a little bit, it's better than a lot. It's way better than a lot. What's really cool too is like how we hold down the, if I highlight this frame and hold down the Alt key and go like that, I can duplicate it, delete. You can do that too with the effects. So for example, the bevel and drop shadow right here that I just put on the text, maybe I want to put it on this too. So again, I come over to this, hold down Alt, and click and drag that FX onto that. Boom. Now that layer has the same effect this layer has. Very, very cool. Another demonstration would be this picture. Double click, and I want to put a stroke on it. Maybe I want the stroke to be like that color. Okay. Now I have a yellow frame around this picture, and I want to put them on all the pictures. You can go to each one and do the same thing, or you just click Alt and click and drag over to here. Boom, that one. Alt, click, drag onto that one. Now all three frames have the same effect just by copying, using the Alt and click and drag on the effects. Super, super cool. Okay. But really, guys, some people are not meant to be designers, and they're not watching. They're not, because they don't care, and they're gonna buy, their overlays and their animations and stuff, and have someone, a designer, make them, as they get them. And there's people like you who are going to make them. My advice for you, if you're running a software and you're new, like everyone has their own story, right? Like why they got into the photo booth business. Some people inherited it, or some people thought it'd be fun. A lot of people don't realize like what is actually, involved in running a photo booth business. So
it's really nice to know that like your software is used by a lot of people and you can belong to a group and ask questions and not, but it really is simple. You sit down and just play with it, play with it, play with it. Try the green screen effect, all these different effects, just touch buttons, check, check. What does this do? What does that do? A lot of people are scared to do that because they think they're going to break it. They're not going to break it. It's really easy. And, a lot of people too, like when we come back to, the screen here where you see all these layers and stuff like that, right? That's it. I give up. Too much, but I just showed you. That's a leaf. That's a leaf. That's a stem. Everything is right there, and it's not that hard. Just don't be scared. Don't give up. Now, last week, also, we talked about the PNG file, how the PNG has a transparency. And, you need transparency to see through. And then when you have images like these leaves, this group, that's a PNG too, because it has no background. It's just leaves. Yeah. But did you know that video can have transparency too? Pretty cool. Video with transparency, or like alpha channel. It's how we do like the AR and stuff. But I don't know much about this kind of stuff. But next week, when we talk about After Effects, I'm going to bring in a side guest here. And he's going to help me with it because he's a lot smarter than me. But yeah, we'll bring him in. And actually, let's introduce him right now. Why don't we? Okay, so let's bring in this guy here. Hey, nice to have you on the show. Right on. I mean, it's short timing, but appreciate you coming in. I really do. Thank you. Hi. Hi to you all here, and thanks for having me on the show. So I hear you're an expert at this After Effects stuff and creating animations with photos and videos. It's pretty special to have,
There's no question that having a picture on an animation screen for any photo booth is special. For example, with a mirror booth, taking a photo and creating an animation is super elegant, super special, and really makes your business stand out when you can bring, customization like this. And it just starts there. I mean, picture this. Picture a iPhone and a green screen, using the iPhone to record video and then creating an animation by eliminating the background and creating a video animation like this. Super exciting. I can't wait to show you guys all next week how this all works. After Effects and Photoshop. Oh, that's wicked, wicked. Yeah, I can't wait to have you on the show next week. Super excited. Yeah. All right, thanks. Bye. This guy's special. Do you know how much courage it took to do that? Live. And try to have another video come in with a transparent background. I go all the way. People, to help you learn. And right there was a good demonstration of how we use a video, take out the background, and then we can use it as an animation or as an AR. I'm really excited to show you guys all about that next week. So After Effects, we're going to do about a half hour on After Effects next week, but still some more Photoshop. Don't make my bad overlay of the week list. Okay, guys, get some feedback. Ask others, what's wrong with this? What can does something seem weird? Because when you're designing something and you're using things for the first time, you're really proud of what you did, and you should be. But sometimes it just takes another eye to point out a couple of those bad features. Join me next week, guys. After Effects, Photoshop, much more. Hit my
comment box if you want to see something special. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. It helps me a lot. Visit ilikeit.com to get all your overlays and some really, really cool animations. I have box sets on sale right now. Until then, see you guys.